New Earth. It's Eden. We're stepping into it. It's so much bigger than you remember. We've got a lot to talk about, including the story of a leopard. I had a recent encounter with a beautiful leopard that I'm going to share with you. Well, if ever you want to hear about a master of camouflage, this is the one. And this being showed me exactly what we're all going to look like as we become invisible in the higher realms. Let's talk about New Earth. First of all, there are 1,000 names, aren't there? True Earth, New Earth, 5D Earth, New Planet, Eden, that's my name. I call the realm that we are about to step into Eden. And when I talk about a realm, make no mistake, it's physical. Sometimes people hear this concept and they think, well, many things, like it's somewhere else, it's another planet, we're all going to go somewhere. No, we're going to remain exactly here and access what's always been here, but inaccessible, because the truth about New Earth is that we're not creating it. It's already created. It's in the background, kind of like a radio station that you can't quite access. You don't exactly have the key codes or the bandwidth to tune in, but we're beginning to get the signals of New Earth. We're beginning to come online to the memory of home. Home is not a distant planet place out there. It is the depth and the truth and the core of what's in here. It's your origin story. We've been relegated to the false matrix. And living in the false matrix is such a very, very interesting and abnormal and unnatural thing. We are multidimensional. But in this small realm, there is a small self. If you are multidimensional, think of that realm that you currently occupy as a sliver, a tiny sliver of you. And then, by contrast, think of New Earth or Eden as something much bigger than the sliver. It is, in fact, the whole picture, the full totality of you. I do not mean this in a symbolic way. I mean this in a very literal way. True Earth, New Earth, Eden is so much bigger than we remember. When we try to picture New Earth, so many of us will picture maybe an idyllic place. And that is true. Eden was originally hijacked into the false matrix as the original Eden that it was, because it was the jewel of the cosmos. Eden held codes to host so many different life forms, to have so many different stargates available on this planet that led to other dimensions, other planets, other galaxies. This was a central, bustling, hustling hub of life and activity. And if you wanted to go from pretty much point A to B, you had to go via Eden to get there, because Earth, Eden, holds this key coded ability to have diversity here, unlike any other planetary realm, really. So we've been living in a very small realm, a literal tiny planet in comparison to the vastness that is Eden. So as we begin to access the key codes that open up the doorways to our true origin, which is Eden, we begin to experience a vastness. We are reintroduced to the full size, the full enormity of that realm. So it's kind of like walking out of a tiny island. When we think of Earth, we think of this big planet, but it's actually a tiny island in comparison to Eden. And when we stand on the ground of Eden, we're looking up at trees that are massive, forests that are monolithic, mountains that are so indescribably massive, and oceans that are incomprehensibly big. Now, there are slipstreams right now. On our little island called Earth, there are slipstreams that lead to Eden. That's how it starts. And those slipstreams leak energy from the Eden realm into the earthly realm, and we're kind of attracted to certain places in nature very often because there's a slipstream there. There will come a time when Earth is completely, fully, totally, and absolutely dissolved into Eden, just like there will come a time where your ego, the small self that walks in Earth, that populates the earthly realm, is dissolved fully and completely into the multidimensional truth of who you are. What happens at the microcosmic level happens at the macrocosmic level. So what's taking place inside of you and at the planetary level right now is that dissolving. And that's why a lot of people say, I feel like I'm falling apart. No, you really aren't falling apart. You're emerging. What is falling apart is the false self and the illusory stories and the illusory ideas of reality. The false identity, absolutely, that must fall apart so that we can re-access the truth. Now, there will come a time, maybe it's in a meditation, maybe it's on a hike, where you will access one of those slipstreams and find yourself in an expansiveness. And maybe you look up and physically see, or you just feel intuitively that there is an expansiveness in front of you. Because that's what it feels like when you walk on Eden. It feels as if you are without border and boundary. It feels as if you are an infinite thing, because this is the home of the big self, or the multidimensionality and totality of you, not the sliver, but the allness and the wholeness that you've missed and longed for. And that is home. When you talk about, I want to go home, it's not a place, it's a state of being. And that state is the allness of you. Look, for right now, we're going to be walking between two worlds. That's just how it is. We're going to be walking sometimes in Earth and sometimes in Eden. And sometimes we won't even know when we move in and out between those two worlds. But as we do, we're shifting frequency each time. And as we shift this frequency, you know what's going to happen? Pretty much the same thing that happened to me when I had this recent interaction with the leopards. Well, leopard, one singular creature that was such a profoundly wise teacher and had a message for all of us. And it started out where we got to sit with a pride of lions, white lions, beautiful, majestic, spectacular creatures. And it just so happened that our safari vehicle, we went to the Kruger National Park, by the way, which is this massive game reserve in South Africa. Let me know in the comments below if you've been there. I know a lot of people have a bucket list dream of going there, and it's so worth it, because there we were, white lions, beautiful pride, us in the middle. We just landed up there. Some of the pride on this side of us, some on that side of us, little cubs over here. And I think there were 2 males on this side. And it was just the most divine majesty being there. We're in an open air vehicle, safari vehicle. And at no point did we feel like prey and them like predators. We felt as if we were beings, co-creators. And when I say equals, I don't mean equals in the sense that we're both equally capable, because we certainly can't do what a lion can do, nor can they do what a human can do, but rather equals in the sense of our cosmic connection and our galactic presence. I had this very strong sense of sitting among beings that I would often sit with when I'm in a galactic council. So we sat in this pride of lions, and the following day, the game ranger kindly said to us, what would you like to see today? And pretty much all of us, my family and a close friend of ours, said, we just want to see leopard. So we went out specifically on a night drive to see if we could see the leopard, and we didn't. But it was still beautiful. It was full moon, gorgeous stars, the sound of the bush, the nighttime crickets, the birds at night. Yeah, there are many of them. It's hippos in the distance, lions roaring. Beautiful, exquisite experience. No leopard though. Following morning, we go on our next safari excursion. And again, the game ranger says, what'll it be today? Kind of like he's serving up a menu. You know, you're never guaranteed what you're going to get, but you can always put out the intention. So of course we said again, well, would be lovely, wouldn't it, to see the leopard? Now, they're solitary creatures. They're loners. And their survival depends entirely on their ability to camouflage themselves. So imagine our surprise when we had just left the resort. We were just, a few minutes in the vehicle, and bam. As if he was calling us, there's this leopard in the middle of the road saying, here I am, exactly where you don't normally see leopard. They are in the bush, they are hidden. And we'd even said, imagine how many times we've driven past maybe leopard or whatever other beings that we just can't see. And this would have been the case if that leopard was in the bush. It's winter time in South Africa right now. And so the bush isn't particularly thick and full of foliage. It's pretty bare. Thankfully, the winters up at the Kruger Park are still nice and warm. So we were so enamored to witness what the leopard did. walked in front of our vehicle, nice little strut, as if to say, I know I've got your attention, follow me now. And our eyes obviously did. Once again, open air vehicle, which is lovely. You've got this view. And they're just to the side of the vehicle, literally just to the side. A little bit beyond an arm's distance, not much more, but just beyond an arm's distance away. There's the bush. And as the leopard walks in, we just can't see him, but we know he's there. His invisibility was so immediate. His invisibility, his camouflage was so complete. And that's kind of like what you're going to experience as you shift into higher and higher frequency. Just like that leopard can phase shift in and out of visibility, we are beginning unwittingly, unknowingly to do exactly the same thing. And that is why it happens that you're in a grocery store and somebody doesn't offer you service maybe, or a restaurant, or you maybe even in a conversation with family or friends, and they just seem to be oblivious of your presence. Or maybe you're in a car and somebody just can't see you despite the fact that you're not in a blind spot, you're in open view. You're beginning to fade out of reality, at least out of the dense reality. Because remember what's going on right now. We have one timeline, but within that timeline, two streams of consciousness, one that goes to Eden, New Earth, and one that goes to a completely new ascension window. There is an ascension point. You see, we're not at that point right now. We're in the practice. We're in the in-between. We're in both worlds. There will come a time where both worlds don't exist, where Earth is completely dissolved into Eden, and at that point, there's a marker that marks the completion of the ascension cycle that we've been in for millions of years already. That happens in this lifetime. It's marked by a solar flash, a grand event that comes through the sun. It's a communication at the galactic level that says, false matrix done. It's at that point that we shift into the light-bodied beings that came here to walk Eden. And there will be those that aren't journeying with us. There will be those that haven't chosen to. This is all happening at the level of soul choice. The souls will have said, this isn't for me at this point. I want to go back to university. I want to go back to study. I want to go back to another ascension where I get to learn all of this again, in the same way that people are thrilled to study and get another degree because they love the thrill of learning. There will be those who do that, and that's a perfect choice for them. There will be those, and it's those watching the video right now. I'll tell you that you wouldn't be watching this if you didn't hold the resonance for what I'm sharing with you. And you hold the resonance for what I'm sharing with you because you're a part of it too. You can feel that, right? You can feel that this is your journey. Something in you has always been preparing for this, even when your mind can't comprehend and your mind can't keep up and your mind doesn't know. So walking between two realms, yes, we have this ascension point, at which point there is only then Eden. And the return of all of our cosmic travels, the return of our cosmic neighbors, and then we walk out onto a absolutely massive planet. And I want to share with you that feeling, that's the best that I can do, of what it feels like when you're walking out onto Eden. The leaves of the forests that you walk beneath, because there is just nature everywhere. Pollution is dissolved into light. Division doesn't happen, judgment doesn't happen. It's a space of sovereignty. That's when I talk about the key codes. That's how the key codes express themselves as human beings in divine harmony with nature and therefore with each other and the nature of each other. Nobody impedes on another's freedom. Nobody interferes with another person. Each person is free to feel what they want, experience what they want, and nobody harms another, and everybody is in their own evolutionary experience. You were born for that Eden. As that occurs, we are supported by nature in a way that we can't imagine. As we breathe the light that has entered into the leaves of that forest, the canopy of leaves above us, we are breathing in pre-digested sunlight. Think of it like that. Because it's not that the sun is harmful, it's that it's so powerful that we need that support at the level of groundedness that the trees provide for us. We're in that level of harmony where the mountains ripple codes into us and the oceans do exactly the same. And we are aware of ourselves as conduits between heaven and earth. Everything working in symbiosis with everything else. I can't wait for you to be bowled over by the vastness that Eden is, the majesty that Eden is. Everything will be far more telepathic. Everything will be far more aligned. Suffering will be done. Money will be done. Separation will be done. So then you might ask, what is there? There is then harmony. There is then you living for your true purpose, which is to evolve. So there's a question that is asked so often, and it's about my loved ones. This is what people say. What about my loved ones? What if they don't come with? How do I know if they will or they won't? And can I rescue them? And can I save them? And can I make sure that they journey with me? No, you can't, because each person is sovereign and makes their own choices and decisions. Children tend to walk the journey of the parents, and certainly they walk the journey of the highest evolving parent. The loved ones that you have will be led by the path that you blaze, the trail that you blaze, the trail of light that's accessible through those slipstreams that lead to Eden. Every time you cross over into that higher realm, whether you do it knowingly or unknowingly, consciously or unconsciously, you are blazing a trail for others to follow. So how do you make sure more people come with? By you spending more and more and more time there. By the way, do you know that this is what the Sasquatch do? The Sasquatch are the original population of Eden. Some people call them the Yeti or Bigfoot, but the Sasquatch are a group of galactic beings. We always think that we have to go to another planet to find galactic beings, but we have non-terrestrial terrestrials right here. We have Octopus, for heaven's sakes. If ever we wanted to see a creature from another world, there they are. These incredible creatures, along with the elephant, along with the dolphins. Imagine wanting to talk to an extraterrestrial before you've even taken the time to talk to the extraterrestrials that live in our own backyard. Why would we go to another planet to do that when we could do it right here today? Eden exists right here today. You exist right here today. And right now is the time for you to begin to acclimate to the world that you were born for. There are going to be times where you find yourself naturally spending more time in that higher realm, in that Eden realm, and equally times when you're busy dissolving density. And in those times, you will feel yourself, in a sense, landlocked, in a sense, earthbound. There's nothing wrong with that. That's just you throwing off the shackles of the false matrix and dissolving the density of where you once were in preparation for the acclimation to the higher realm. Here is a beautiful preparation for you. Just feel these words from my heart all the way to yours. So much love. Let it in. And prepare yourself for life on Eden, which feels exactly like this love, but everywhere. And when you're there, it's not just a case of you're there to be loved, you're also there to love. And when you're here, you're not just here to be loved, you're also here to love. And your love is beautiful. And your love is enough. And your love is the slipstream.